Okay, this is a very popular car here in Thailand. This is a Toyota commuter van, high roof. And what's interesting here, it has a mid-engine. This is a diesel engine. But here underneath the hood, what am I looking at? Okay, let's start over here on the driver's side. Yes, that's the far right side. This is Thailand. Vacuum switch to let me know that there's a problem with the vacuum source, and vacuum is supplied by a vacuum pump driven by the engine. Here we see our master cylinder reservoir, and this, yes, has a manual transmission, not an automatic, a manual transmission, and it shifts very smoothly, and the shifter is up there high on the dash. And oftentimes when you're riding in this vehicle, you can't really tell it doesn't have an automatic, because the experienced driver can shift very smoothly. So this is my master cylinder for the clutch slave cylinder down at the transmission. All right, let's move across. Now, these obviously are the air conditioner high side line with a sight glass, and there I see the low side line with its corresponding fitting. But what's this thing? What's this? Let's look down in here. That looks like an AC evaporator, but that's not what it is. This is the aftercooler for the turbocharger. Yes, it has an exhaust-driven turbocharger. This is a diesel. So what happens is the air leaves the compressor, moves through the aftercooler, and then comes back to their version of a throttle body. All right, let's take a look here. Here we see the coolant reservoir, and mounted nice and high there within the vehicle. Clearly see the level. It's a pressurized bottle. And then of course the washer fluid. Now here in Thailand we'll never have a freezing condition, so any washer fluid that I put in here, it's nice to have a little bit of a detergent or bug solvent in it, but I sure don't need any material to prevent freezing. Okay, here we have our mid-engine. Yes, this is a 4-cylinder common rail diesel engine, and I have 4 PZO style injectors, or high pressure injectors. I'm injecting fuel directly into the cylinder. Here obviously on a direct injection common rail diesel engine, I have to have a high pressure fuel pump, and this is my high pressure fuel pump. This is controlled so I can vary the fuel pressure of my fuel rail. But there I'm going to usually have an electric pump back at the tank, and the electric pump is going to supply fuel to this filter housing assembly. This is a filter water separator, and what it's going to do is give me an indication that there's a problem. Certainly don't want water and fuel. So the in-tank fuel pump is going to supply this filter assembly, which of course in turn will then supply the high pressure engine driven pump. Now the way this pump's designed, I do have a spill, so I do have a return line going back to the tank. So fuel in excess of that required, or fuel that has been used for lubrication of the pump, I just simply return back to the fuel tank. Well, let's take a look. Here I see an air bleed there from my cooling system. And obviously there's the engine oil cap, and there's my dipstick. Now on many of the diesel engines here in Thailand, they don't put an extreme emphasis on exhaust emissions. Now here it looks like I do have an EGR system, exhaust gas recirculation, to try and help reduce the formation of oxides of nitrogen, reducing those peak combustion temperatures and pressures. Not really doing anything for fuel economy, but what you'll notice in Thailand, oftentimes this is minimal or absent. And as far as the selective reduction catalysts and diesel emission fluid and a particulate filter, no. But this diesel engine runs very quietly, very smoothly, gets very good fuel economy. Here we see that duct coming from the aftercooler there in front of the vehicle, coming to their version of a throttle body. And the turbocharger is of course on the other side. Now, this is our mid-engine location here. This cover comes up so I can gain access to the battery, little fuse relay center, just a small one obviously, not the main one, basically on the engine. Though to lift the driver's side I have to take some fasteners loose, but I can also remove the driver's side to gain access to the turbocharger, etc., etc. And sure enough, if we can look down there on the side of the engine, down there low, you'll notice that there is, and I'm turning on my flashlight so we can try and point to it, there is a clutch slave cylinder. Yes, this is a manual transmission. There's my clutch slave cylinder. There we go. Clutch slave cylinder. There's my throw-it bearing fork. There we see that bell housing, and as we look up here in the engine compartment, we do see the shifter. There's the emergency brake. There's the shifter, and sure enough, I do see a clutch pedal over there.